Let me know if you guys are able to see my screen.
Um, yes, I can see your screen.
Should I put it in the presentation mode?
Yeah, so that should be fine. So you can click on slideshow.
So I guess we covered these.
We covered few things.
Yeah.
It's from agenda. We need to cover.
Perfect. So, good morning, all. Thank you for being here. So, today's topic is JWT. I guess a lot of people would have heard, or they might have actually worked with. If you try to work with Okta, or even if you are trying to work with multiple payment-related gateways, or multiple other systems, also, they lot of usage of JWT in today's world, right? We know that it looks like a encoded string, and we use it for authorization, and we can see that if we go to jwt.io, we can break it down into a few things. So I just wanted to cover a lot of basics around it, where and when should we be using, and how we should be using JWT, right? So, what is JWT? The very first thing, so JWT is a mechanism like to verify. It is a string which can be broken down into multiple pieces, and then you can identify if a particular resource or the client has access to a particular resource or not. So basically, authorizing a resource, right? After the access is granted, it can be used to authorize the user for a particular resource, right? So this is the kind of definition you might find around the internet, right? But let's go to the next part, where where are we using and when to use JWT, right? So there are a lot of mechanisms of access control, right? How do we provide access to a particular client? But when it comes to authorization, right, where you have to give particular access to like particular people. I can give you a use case to try to understand from the perspective. Let's suppose there is a front end, right, and front end is being used by, let's suppose there is a patient, in case of a medical industry, so there will be a patient's UI, and the UI is basically the same, right? But patients can log in into it, staff can log in into it, but how do you provide different sort of access, like maybe what kind of information is accessible to patients, and how you can differentiate it from the staff, right? So for that you need some sort of variables in somewhere which can tell you, okay, I cannot give access to this request to this particular resource or to this particular client, right? So what you will do, you'll your JWT authorizing server, what it will do whenever you will log in. Let's take a very good example of Okta, right? In Okta, what happens? You log in, you authenticate yourself. That is fine, but the next step is that how do we authorize? So Okta will issue a JWT token for you, right? Now this JWT token will come in the request when you actually call the actual API after authenticating yourself. Then there will be a header with a JWT token. Okay. Now this header comes to the authorizing server. It will be checked that, okay, now this uh, token is valid. First of all, the validations are being done. Then the next step is to provide actual uh, access, so you can if I show you the structure, right, how it looks like actually. So if you come to the structure of JWT, it looks like this somewhere. If you ever go to this jwt.io, right, you will see that the structure looks like this. Now we'll talk about the breaking down of structure. But this structure is how it is authenticated or how it is made sure that it's a valid token from the intended party, right? So there are three parts to it, and the way we do it, I'll talk about those things in a few minutes. So let's go back to the usage. So you have a client app, you do a sign-in request, right? JWT creation, then JWT is sent back to the client app. Now this JWT will be used for actual API request. It will pass in the headers, and there will be some sort of validation which will be done at this level where the uh, yeah, sorry. So where this actual authorization and the access to resource will be given. Any questions at this point? I guess it's fairly straightforward, simple understanding, right? This is the how what also works. I don't have visibility to chat right
No, no, Shiva. Like,
now.
we don't have any questions at this point.
Okay. Please, just keep a look on this chat if there are any
Sure,
questions.
sure. I'm looking into it. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. So now this is how where we can use JWT, right? Where we should not use. So if you say that okay, this is a header which has JWT token, it is sort of encrypted, right? Now, how do you extend? If you try to extend, can you pass session tokens into it? No, because it is you can take any JWT token and you can go to jwt.io and it will break it down for you. So it's not that you can pass a session token into it, but you can pass a few things, and there are various clauses of using JWT, and there are lot of best practices around JWT. I'll talk those things around in a few minutes. So the first usage is API authentication, of course, right? You authenticate your APIs. Then single page applications authentication can also be used, right? Because single page will they don't require a database, right? Like JWT doesn't require a database, so you can use those applications there also. Then authorizing operations across servers, like if you have multiple servers, right, and the servers need to talk to each other, then servers can send JWT tokens to other servers so that the network or the communication between server 1, 2, 3, or n number of servers is always authorized. It's not that somebody can put a traffic somewhere between server 1 and server 2, right? All right. Then yeah, that also helps, of course, that you didn't really need to open a session between two servers to have that communication of authorization. At least you can directly do authorize the request through JWT token. Otherwise, you will have to open a channel, or you will have to do some sort of session which will be done, and then the communication will happen. So this is the usage, when to use JWT. So API authentication, single page application authentication, and authorizing operations across servers. Okay. Then we come to the next important part. Everybody would have seen the sample token, right? And this token is part of, like, it is comprised of three different sections. If you see, it's a dot delimited thing, which is we can separate it by dots. So the first part is the header, right, which will contain data related to a type of token we are dealing with and algorithm which is being used. Right? Then payload, of course, will contain the actual body. Like if I say that I have some roles defined in my Okta server, then Okta server the JWT header will have those roles defined in that particular header. That okay, this person has view form access, or it has edit form access in, or it has view order access, or it has edit order access, or create order access. Right? So that way, payload will contain your actual roles and whatever information you need. It's a customizable thing. It's nothing fancy. Then the signature, last part. which is the encoded string, which is very crucial when you actually do the validation of the complete JWT token, right? So let's go ahead and see. Uh, let me do one. Sorry, copy this token itself. So simply go to jwt.io, right, and put this. You'll see there are three sections to it. The first is the header, which tells you the algorithm. ALG is the algorithm. Type is JWT. And there is a key ID. It's a key ID actually. 101 is key ID. Then this is a payload. So you can pass roles, scopes, and those kind of things in the data. Sorry. Then there is a verified signature. The third section where you have that signature of this header plus payload. That is the base64 encoded, and that is then encrypted with this algorithm hash 256 sha 256. You can consider it to be. Any questions here, guys?
No, we are good, Shiva.
Sabrik, Sabrik, the
Yeah.
key ID is, so what will happen? Like let's suppose that I am uh, the client and somebody is a client or somebody is providing access to me for his application, right? Now they will provide me a key for signing the request. Now that key will also have a key ID in their system, like 100 and then the key, like key value pair. So key ID and actual key, which is used to sign the request. No, it doesn't hash map to any value anywhere. It is just to when it is used in the validations though, like your key id is because what happens, you need to when you create, so with the key id, if I encrypt with the key id 100 then this 100 key will be used to re-sign the request. I'll tell you how it goes and it will clarify. We can use a lot of algorithms. So people can use SHA-256, SHA-1, SHA-2. Those kind of algorithms can be used. There is a particular set of algorithms. It's not specified like you have to do this only. You can use multiple algorithms. Okay. Savni, does that answer your question? Okay. Perfect. So, and there are, if you see closely at the payload also, so you will see there are a few extra things with ISS. The issuer, this is the issuer, and then IAT is the timestamp basically of the because tokens are valid for a particular timestamp, right? So this will when the validation is done, the IAT is considered for finding the time. It is basically the epoch time of uh, epoch times, the current time converted into epoch time. So if you understand the epoch time, so simply if I do numbers, you see this. So this is epoch time. You can study more on epoch time, what epoch time is, and this can be uh, this way, or it can be in seconds, milliseconds, that way. Then okay, coming back. Then there are multiple other things. This payload can be, it is customizable. It's not that it is the same thing. You can customize it, right? And you can add other sort of validations also if you want to use but these are like mandates, like IIT will be there, issuer will be there, right? And this header is will be there, the algorithm you need to tell, then you need to tell the type is of course, and key ID is mandate. So there are these are like few mandate parameters, right? Rest everything can be customized. And if you see here, like for the algorithms, you can see there is a list of algorithms which can be used. But majorly we use the SHA-256 or SHA-1, SHA-2, those kind of things. All right. Then going back to the slide. So I showed you the analysis, right? What are mandatory fields, what are not. Then let's try to create it. Okay? Let's try to see how. So there will be instances where you might need to create your you might need to create JWT token for authenticating, because what will happen, you need to send JWT token, a particular JWT token for authentication, and then you might also need to so you will send your request for authentication even with JWT. So those are scenarios where you might need to do that. Okay, so let's do a quick demo. Let's see. So I wrote a blog also on this whole thing. You can go there and also I'll paste the link if you want to. So so you can do this job with Java also. I did with Java also, and but if you see the Java code, right? So it looks very technical. I mean, and being in MuleSoft, working with MuleSoft, it's like we try to cover all the use cases with database itself. We try not to write Java code as much as possible. So then, if you but still, if you want to do it with Java, you can go ahead and check the code out from here. So straightforward, simply, very simply written code, nothing fancy here. So let's copy this piece. I wrote this code. Then I'll explain all the things.
Yeah, Shiva, just to add to that
Hmm.
point that you told for Java, right? It's, as you said, it's very much important for everyone to understand. Like, starting Mule 4, we don't recommend using Java in our Mule application. So most of the time, we should be using data weave and Mule components to achieve that. The reason being, like, it is for other people to adopt also. So being otherwise it will be end up just being a Java developer who can adopt Mule technologies. And second thing is the people who want to, I mean, it should have more readability. So if you have Java code, if you bring in GUI script, or if you bring in any other scripts into Mule, what happens is the maintenance of the applications, the readability of the applications is lost, and it's very hard to immune it as well. So for those reasons, we need to stick to Mule applications and data view. So that's a
Right,
recommendation.
right. And I mean, if you try to use other scripting languages, like you want to do Groovy, Python, so there is a switch of those engines, because you're running on something on new runtime, and then you have to run something on Python or Groovy or other thing. So those change of engines, they impact performance also, right? So
Exactly.
that is why we recommend that try to conquer all the use cases till the extended limit, till where you can to do it in through DataWeave and the native components of Microsoft, right? I mean, we can do a lot of things with Java also, but that is not the so. I mean, as per the motto of MuleSoft is that we want to focus on business process more rather than increasing the inventory of our codes and maintainability of it. Right.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. Yeah, true.
All right. So let's see through this code. Um, is it fairly visible to you guys, or should I do something about it?
Should be fine. Yeah, it's
Is it fine? Okay.
yeah.
All right. So these are the basic libraries you will need to do that. These are all standard libraries. Right. Then there is a sample secret key I have put. Let's suppose now let's try to put it into use case. I want to connect to a particular provider. Let's suppose I want to connect to. There are payment gateways. Let's suppose there uh, I want to use their payment services. So what I'll do is I will they will create a key for me and they will share that key with me. Okay, that key will have a key ID. This key ID. This will be mapped to this. Okay. Now I've kept it very simple in terms of how the token header. So token header is like this is simple JSON which is written here. Right? Then a token payload. You can add anything to it. Let's try to add. Uh, I'll say API. And my API will be and there are comments also what denotes what. So this is the algorithm, this is the type, and this is the key ID. Then I told this is the issuer, right? Who is issuing this? Then IIT is the time, right? You can this is epoch time, like now is number, and then you can change the units to seconds or milliseconds, whatever your issuer or the actual authenticator will be using. Then Then the next step is to base 64 encode these token headers and token payload. First of all, the next step after you have your header and payload, two things they're very straightforward. Then the way we create is currently I'll remove this so that you're able to see better. Yeah. So now there is let's suppose there is a function. I create a function to encode this and this JSON to base 64 encoded URL. Then we use the standard function of 2base64 from the crypto module. Then we this will convert this function will convert any JSON into this base64 version encoded base64. Then all right. The next step is to add. The next step is to create this header. Header is this. Then payload is this, and the signature. The most important part is the signature. Right? How do we create that signature? So signature is base 64 of header plus base 64 of this token, and then you sign it with the key. Okay. So if you see here, header is this, right, and payload is this. Then signature is secret. Base 64 encoded URL header added with dot of payload. Okay, and then you sign this whole thing with the key. Here we are using SMAC 256 algorithm. Okay. Now the token will be header dot payload dot signature. So basically, signature contains everything with token header and payload, but in an encrypted way, just to cross validate that the body and header is what it is showing in the token. Okay. Now you created this token. Okay. If I copy this token here, So you see this algorithm type, everything is there. ISS is there, time is there. API, I added this out of API, so it will come here. Then this is the signature actually. How do you verify? It will tell you that. So this is how you can create a token. Okay? It's a very straightforward code. It's nothing fancy here. But the next step is how do we authenticate? I mean, like how do we know? How will the provider know? Right? So if you understand from if you have some understanding on crypto and if you have some understanding on I guess Bitcoin is very fancy, right? And if you try to understand the basics of uh, Bitcoin or any other coins, if you follow these things, so blockchain is the base of it, right? Then what is blockchain? So blockchain is basically a group of distributed computers which generate hash maps and they are then validated and you can issue transactions with that, right? So if you go to the base of Bitcoin, you'll see that they basically will use SHA-1, SHA-2, or SHA-256, and these algorithms are such that for a particular given string, they will give you a encoded string, or encrypted string, which by no means can be you know, reverse engineered. That is not possible. You cannot reverse engineer whatever you input into SHA-256, whatever the payload you get it from there, what is the output you get it from there, you cannot reverse engineer it. That is not possible. The only way to validate is that this key will be used by the provider and the provider will use this token. It will break it down like that, and it will again rerun this whole process. This process will be run, and that same token will be created. Basically, okay. Then they will. It will be a string to string match there, but to understand how it is secure, this once I pass this to HMAC 256, it cannot be reverse engineered. You cannot reverse engineer it back to this way. If you see this section here, right, this much, this cannot be reverse engineered to this and this by any means. That is not possible. And the other property of HMAC 256 or SHA-256, SHA-1, SHA-2, much more from there. So they cannot. So if you provide a particular string to that algorithm, the output will remain always the same. It will not change. Okay. Any questions on SHA-256 or how things
Yeah.
work?
So we have a question from Kalyani. What is the use of where secret here?
Secret here. Okay, I'll show you. I missed that. So this is a secret, right? So this is the key where we use it to sign the request. So here you will see the secret is being used to, with this algorithm. I am using this key to sign this request to create the signature of it.
Okay, so secret is a randomly generated
No, secret is
UID
the
value.
secret is the key which will be provided by the authenticator to you. That you have to use this key to sign your requests.
Okay,
This is not so. This key ID which you see here, this is a direct reference of this. So when you send this, because you are not sending secret here, right? You are sending key here. So now what will happen? The authenticator, the provider, will be using it will take the key which is stored at this. Let's suppose there is a table maintained, right? So this is the key and this is the ID. So then they will use this to find that key, and then they will use this to sign that request to match the header and the body as like it will this string actually. This should be same as created here, right? So authenticator or provider will also do that to authenticate that and validate this is a valid JWT token.
okay, okay, cool. Yeah, thanks. We have one more question from Vijay. What is the benefit of creating JWT when MuleSoft cannot act as a IDP? And get that.
MuleSoft, uh, MuleSoft can do that. I mean, in terms of it is, if you're talking about identity provider, right, it can do that. Benefit I got that. So MuleSoft can do that. It can act as a identity provider. If you want to write your custom logic to do that, that is possible. It is not that straightforward. It is out of the box, but you will have to write logic there to do that. So JWT also okay, and there are use cases where you will when you want to send or authenticate or you want to use a particular API, you will have to authenticate yourself. It's not the authorization, but it is the authentication where JWT is getting used. You will see those use cases also. That you will create a JWT token and you will give the that information, and then it will go to the authenticator, and then they will authenticate you, and then they will send one more JWT, which you will send to the actual API in the headers. There are two use cases I have worked where JWT is used for authentication also.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, Shiva. I
Okay.
think we are good.
Yes, we can. You can understand that from that way. Where OAuth, so OAuth is like same, right? I mean, if you understand the basics of JWT, OAuth is based upon this one. They issue a bearer token, and then you take that and you just break it down and you authenticate the people or you authorize the people. That way. All right. Then okay, this is done. Okay, this is see very basic. I'm telling you a very basic thing right now, but this will clear out everything. How you can authenticate yourself, how provider will use this to validate you, or how authorizations will work. Because this is very huge in terms of like I guess if you are working with MuleSoft, you will have come across you would have come across Opta and those kind of things. And whenever the authentication or authorization happens from there, the JWT is basic of it. So this is a something. This is something which we use in our daily work, but somewhere we don't really go that deep down to understand the logistics behind it. Right? It's a very straightforward thing to tell somebody that's a JWT token. Yeah, it's a JWT token. It's a very simple thing, right? But how it is formed and those kind of things, I just wanted to touch base on those things actually, and that is why I came up with this blog and this topic to speak on Meetup. And I guess everybody's talking about a lot of things, a lot of fancy things. So, okay, coming back to the yeah. So this is how the validation looks. The client application will get that token, will validate by header and payload portion, and signing on its own. It will sign it on its own. Then they will match. Okay, this is matching or not, right? Then yeah, this is excellent. So I guess I covered this whole thing for you guys. There are a lot of references which you can use to study more on this. And if you have not worked on crypto part of Mule 4, there are a lot of things which are used on a regular basis, but that depends on the use cases. So I covered, I guess, pretty much everything. This is a very short meetup, I guess. Yeah, but okay. So there will be a few limitations, when you talk about JW tokens. I'm not sure if you guys have come across that situation where JWT token, you know, so there is as such no limit. There is no hard code limit to what should be the size of token, but there will be chances that yours or the provider or servers or even MuleSoft for that matter, right? If you create an application in MuleSoft, you deploy it to Cloud Hub, and let's suppose front end is calling you with a JWT token. Okay. Now, if JWT token uh, is huge in size, those requests will start failing. Okay, because I guess 16 KB is the, I mean, in terms of all the headers, because JWT token will be part of headers, and there's a limit to the header size which can be passed or what a server accepts. So Cloud Hub has, I guess, it is 16 KB only. Uh, I guess we need to check that, but I guess it is 16 KB, which is allowed length of JWT. Sorry, this complete all the headers. I'm talking about all the headers. Whatever headers are passed from the front end to your MuleSoft application, there is a limit to it, right? So now most of the things remain same. The variable becomes JWT token, because the size of JWT token can increase, because if I have like 10 roles assigned to my user, and if I have multiple resource authentication authorization, right? So the size of the JWT token will be huge. Now that is a variable in headers. Now when that limit of 16 KB will pass, you will start seeing that the requests will start failing. Right. Now, what is the solution to it? The solution is that you will have to add an extra property in the runtime. You can There is a property for header size. Right? You will have to go and specify that size of the header which it can accept. You can change it to 24 KB or 32 KB, something like that, and then it will be resolved. So, but JWT comes. So the best practice is that JWT in any case should not be greater than 8 KB. Okay. It should not be, ideally. And 8 KB is sufficient, I guess. It covers a lot of use cases. It covers, in today's world, whatever applications. I mean, at least I have seen 6 to 7 huge, massive projects around my experience in 6 years, and multiple other small projects. But in talking about 6, 7 massive projects, uh, they were using Okta for a lot of authorization, but I never saw that issue. But in one of the projects, I saw that where the JWT size was huge and the applications started failing, the requests started failing, and the application Cloud Hub was not it was not accepting those HTTP calls. So that is one part where there's a few limitations, you can say, of that. And so of course, so and one more thing here, if you see the payload, right? Sorry, this section payload. Payload contains request, and but it's not that you can pass anything into this. Right? It should not be that level of, you can't pass PHI data into it. You can't do that, and because this token can be taken by anyone. Right? It can show that. So you saw that, right? I copy this and I put it on JW.io. It will show me the body. So I cannot pass actual data into it. Right? That should not be done. Just because it supports those things, we should not be doing that. Headers, the size of token, the kind of data you are trying to put into tokens, those should be taken care of. Those should be looked into. Then I guess what else? I guess I'm pretty much done with the topic. I am open to questions. I guess we had 2 questions, but if there are any further questions, please feel free to ask.
Yeah. So guys, please feel free to ask if you have any questions.
Can we achieve same result by using generated policy from API manager without writing script in database? Correct. That is, I mean, this is the authentication part, right? That is what we do when we do JWT validation policy, right? Somebody has to create that JWT, correct? You are applying a policy on your application, but somebody has to create that JWT. Right? Now that, how will you create that JWT? You can write your code in Node.js, or you can write in React.js. You want to write in Python or Java or whatever. But this is where this will be useful when you have to authenticate against somebody else, like some third party application which uses JWT for authentication. That will be the usage of it. So when you apply JWT policy, it's like you are authenticating JWT token. You are not doing anything. But yeah, the logic remains the same at that level. I hope that answers the question, Suraj. I guess Kishore already wrote that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Any further questions? Yes, no, maybe. How differently we deal with the using able to call endpoint versus the receive able to header. So let's suppose you are receiving a JWT, right, in header. So you will have to then write the logic on the other end where you have to fetch the you need to decode the token first, right, into readable format. Then you take the payload, you take the header, you sign it with the key, and then you match the strings. Right? That is same. That is the receiving end. Now, dealing with any JWT to call an endpoint, this will be the logic. You have to create the JWT with this code, where you have to create this header, payload, and signature, and then you have to send the request using that token in the header. So what would happen after the token expire? How does it same way? So okay, my screen is still shared, right, guys?
Yes, 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 it is.
So this IAT, right? This thing. This is a so basically this will be like this. So every time you run this code, it will create a separate token. This value will keep on. IAT is changing. It's a constant changing. It's changing variable. That will create the. So in any case, key plus secret is the matchmaking. Yes, that's right. And how do we specify expiration timing? Here, right. This IAT you can use and you can pass this value. Actually, this has to be configured with the provider itself. So what if let's suppose I have configured my application to receive a token and it should not be 1 minute old or it should not be 30 seconds old, right? So that way, if this value created here, it is more than 30 seconds or 1 minute, it will tell that the token has expired. The provider will throw an error. The expiration time is a property for your provider. So, okay. So if you modify the payload, the signature will change, right? I mean, let's suppose here, this is the payload and this is the signature. So this signature is created how? If you see closely, this is signature is if this is the actual payload. I mean, let's suppose this I created this. Okay? So if I created this, Now this is the signature, right? The signature will be created and it is sent that way. This is the signature here. But if I change the payload here and I don't change the signature, right? Then what will server do? Server will take the token, it will take the header, and it will then create a key. It will sign the request and it will find that string. But the string will not match, right? If you change this and server receives this, so let's suppose I create this. Somebody did between here by any means. Somebody did this to change it to invoice API, right? Now the header will change. No, sorry, the token will change. Sorry, this token will go there, but the actual token which is formed at the provider's end, that will be different. The signature signed value will be different. So the validation will fail.
Okay.
How much of a latency this will add to our APIs? Latency. Uh, from which perspective? I mean, so this has to be part of the header, right? And you, even if you are not doing JWT, if you are doing any sort of authentication mechanism, like if you talk about policies, right? If you have seen your all the news of policies which you see, and either they are quality of service type or their security wise authorization or those kind of things, right? Those will impact. They will take some time. Like I guess client ID, client secret takes 40 milliseconds, right? So anything you add somewhere will add some latency. So this is you can say. I think it should be very fast one, not take more than 10-20 milliseconds. What else, guys? Any further questions?
Yep. So, any further questions, guys? If you have, just post it.
That's fine. I mean, if you want to think, and if there comes any questions, I'm available on LinkedIn. You guys can ping me. Feel free to do that.
Yeah.
All right then. I guess that's all Anup, from my end. Then
Sure.
we'll go ahead with the trivia session. I'll stop share.
Trivia quizzes. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Um, thanks. Thanks, Shiva. Thanks for the session. Let me share my screen. So this was a quiz time. Um, yeah. So let's get into this trivia quizzes. So get ready to win special gift from MuleSoft community. So some of the instructions are: you should not be a MuleSoft leader for this, and please don't try to enroll if you already won in last 30 days. So let's give opportunity to others to appear for an instructor led trainings. Okay. So in order to log in, so you need to log into Kahoot via your mobile phone. Okay, and you need to click on the play on top of right web page. So let me try to get you the game pin. So Balkis used to do it. I'm not sure if that the way that I'm doing is right. Let me start. Uh, I think it is classic mode. So let's start with classic mode. Yeah, here is a game pin 444270. So that's your game pin. So you should be able to log into Kahoot. Yep, thank God it's accepting more people. So we're expecting more numbers here. Like, so we are 47. So at least 40. Kindly log in and put your actual name, your full name, maybe your full name. So we have 30. We'll wait for like another few seconds to get started. Okay, so I'm going to lock and I'm going to start it. Okay, so give me a second. Fine, thank you. So we have 34. Let's start the session. So click on start. This is a first question that I hope you can see my screen. Okay, let's start. So what it is meant by JWT? Have four options like JWT Web Token, Java Web Token, JWT Web Token, JavaScript Web Token. Okay, so I think most of them are attended. So we'll go to the next question, or we'll see what's scoreboard. So Praveen is in the top. I mean, you need to be correct as well as you need to be quick. Okay, so let's go to the next question. So JSON Web Tokens are dash and dash. Unserialized, not encrypted, serialized, not encrypted, serialized, encrypted, or unserialized, encrypted. Okay, so that's have. So let's click on next. See who's on the scoreboard. And Johnny. So yeah, great work. So let's move on. Next quiz. So there are dash sections in JWT. How many number of sections in JWT? 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right. Thank you. So yeah, click on next. Oh, three. Oh, that's great. Shantanu, good work, man. Let's click on next. So the next question. The JWT token has dash and dash. Okay. That's good. Again, good work. Okay, let's see who's in the top now. Shantanu. Okay, cool. Shantanu, yeah. So Vandana is coming along. See. Let me click on next. JWT token is usually a dash separated string. Yep, cool. Thank you. Let's go next. So here's highest climber. So Santanu Rubinsa first. Let's see next question. So sixth question. So where can we find the algorithm used to sign the token? Is it in the payload key header attributes dot algorithm? Okay, thank you. So let's click on next. Yep, to remains the same. So last question. True or false? JWT can contain limited amount of data. Okay. Cool. Yeah, thank you. So let's see who are the winners. Thanks everyone for participating this. So we have in third place Pravankara, congrats. Shantanu. Oh, okay. Shantanu has been placed. Have Rohit. That's good work, Rohit. And runners up are Prashant and Hithik. So guys, congrats everyone. So kindly share your mail address with us in the chat. Okay, and thanks everyone for participating. Now, so thank you so much, Shivasha. It's very much, I mean, interactive and also like very much informative as well session. Thank you so much. And
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, and thank you all for joining and hearing me out.
yeah, thank you guys. Do provide your feedbacks in the meetups.mulesoft.com. Okay, it's very important. We take it very seriously, and also uh, take a look at our other meetups, other sessions that is going on. So we are hosting like a couple of sessions in coming months. Okay, so thanks everyone. Happy weekend and stay safe. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Sure. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Yeah. So Rohit, I got your email address.
Hey Anup, I'm really sorry. I thought it will extend some time. But yeah.
No issues. No issues.